quiero que nadie se ofenda, pero hasta que no estás aquí dentro no sabes la grandeza de este equipo.
Só nós sentimos assim. Por muito desgosto que possamos ter, valores mais altos se levantam. O valor mais alto que se levanta em termos futebolísticos chama-se Benfica.
Welcome, another episode of Cantinho Benfiquista podcast, episode 42, titled Seferovic Strikes Again. Guy's unstoppable at the moment. We got the regulars, Oscar and Kenny back. Boys, how are you?
Very good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Back here with a nice one.
Welcome, Dave.
Another nice one. And then we got Dave, Braga fan, local here to us in Massachusetts as well. How are you?
Doing phenomenal, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And Jay's going to be late, but he'll be joining at some point. Today, we got Braga 0, Benfica 2. Another win, another clean sheet. That's 5 on the trot in the Portuguese league. Not a bad stat to have. A game that was important for both. A game that puts Benfica in third place now. A game that could have put us 5 back, I believe it would have been if we had lost to Braga. So we're going to go through the highlights. We're going to talk through the game, talk a little bit with Dave about what he's thought about Braga this season, what he thinks about Benfica, giving us an unbiased opinion, and what do we expect going forward for the rest of the season. I think there's 11 games left, 10, 11 maybe. Thoughts on what we're going to see for the rest of the season. But we will start with the highlights. We just talked through it. There was a couple of plays that we can share.
Second yellow, we can. You want to get into that now? I'm sure we'll develop when you go over the game. I got opinions on. Right. As soon as we lost the guy in the 40th minute, they dropped back and threw another guy in the bag, and that's where they started the game off. So let me take it back to the beginning. We have severe issues defensively. That is non-negotiable. We have I think we had to sign our center back in order for him to play right now because we lost Raul Silva, slow Rolando. We sold the guy I didn't care for him anyway, Bruno Viana, because he's a mental case. Yeah. And then you lost David Carmo. So you're on your 5th and 6th. Yep. So the amount you can say is high. It would have been playing right back anyway. But with the level of quality they're at, you have to play with a 3 central defender set. That's what Carlos Carvalhal likes to do. And when he doesn't have Cerqueira, who's a natural left back, he's been playing that left central defender position. So when I seen that he wasn't fit to even make the roster, I knew they were going to play 4 in the back, and that's exactly why I thought Benfica came down. The game was going to be played in the middle of the pitch. It was going to be all midfielders. Right down the center. They had 2 central defenders, and neither of them are playing at a high quality for this type of game. You have a kid who's 19 playing, and then you have another guy who's not their first option. He's meant to play on the right of a 3 central defender set. So that worked.
That center back was. I mean, you could just look at his face. He looked like he was 12.
Yeah, super young. Really young. He's a kid.
Jay, welcome.
What's going on, guys?
Kenny, I'm going to start with you. What were your thoughts of the game? Who stood out?
Yeah, so I went into the game thinking that, Benfica had to, just from the season that we've been having and not being able to come out with a result from any of the top 3 matches with Braga, Sporting, Porto, this was a statement game that they had to make. But I still thought they haven't really convinced me, and I still thought that Braga has been playing really good soccer as of late. So I thought, I think I guessed a 2-2 score. But the game ended up the game with the red card early on. I mean, it helps. I'm not gonna lie. I'm happy about the win, but like Oscar and I talked about after the game, like it's not convincing. Like I still want to see more out of him. I'm not gonna just be like, all right, we're back to where we are. But I like to see Seferovic continue scoring goals. That you got to keep building his confidence up. It was nice to see that they were able to come out with the victory. But I agree. I mean, the Carvalhal said at the end. I mean, Braga was kind of in shambles with injuries and things like that. The back line, Dave, you already spoke to it. They were, fresh players there that we could have easily taken advantage of. So. But overall, I mean, happy with another victory, clean sheet, all that is good, but I'm not convinced yet. I still want to see more from them continuing down this path.
Oscar, Milton's already starting early here. Oscar, easy joga zero.
I don't even want to answer to that.
You're coming in hot already.
I probably will not. You'll not like my answer. But can I say something about the game?
Yeah, go ahead. You can go.
There's two parts to this game. Obviously, the first, the before the red card, just like Boavista game, right? We were having a 50-50 game against Boavista, got the red card opened up for us. We controlled the whole game, right? And then against Braga, even though before the red card we had two great chances to score, the Grimaldo shot along with the goalie and the Seferovic point blank that the Mateus had a great save on the header. And then right after that we get the red card. And then that after the red card, basically, and like Dave was saying earlier, like they had a lot of injuries. It opened up the game for us. They had nobody else to put in there to cover that space. So it's just basically it was a matter of time before we scored. We took advantage of the open field that they gave us after the red card, and this Rafa goal is a great example of how open they were. We could just slide any ball through. And with the speed that we had with the Rafa and Waldo and all that, we could have gone to the goal a lot more often. This game could have been a game where we could have won 4-5, and they could have scored 1 or 2, but it should have been a high scoring goal, a lot of goals. And if I felt like, like Kenny said, it's not a game that I'll need another game against a top quality team without a red card to convince me that we're back in form.
Do you think?
Go ahead, Kenny.
Well, I was just say, also, do you think 11-on-11 that we would have still come out with 2-0? Because that was just gonna be my
question. But you didn't get the feeling that I felt that Benfica before the red card was in control of that whole game, right? Like you said in our text message that it looked sloppy, but for me, I think Braga was trying to play the long ball, right? I think Benfica controlled the midfield well enough. I think Braga was looking for the pass in behind, and Benfica controlled it well, surprisingly, given the pace that we don't have at the back. There was a few moments where they caught us out once or twice, but apart from that, I thought Benfica always looked in control of that game, even before the red card. Do you not think the same, Oscar?
No, I agree. I agree. Benfica looked defensively; they looked in control defensively. I think it needed them to open up a little bit more for us to take advantage offensively. But defensively, the 3 center backs that we implemented, and I actually am starting to become a big fan of that, especially those 3 guys. They cover each other really well. Seferovic, Otamendi, and Vertonghen.
Seferovic.
Verissimo. I think you have to be, though. You saw what a 2 defender set did for you.
Yeah.
That's necessity. You had no choice. You bought, what'd you pay for him, $8 million?
Who's Verissimo?
6.
Yeah.
6. Was it 8?
You gotta. You have to put him in. You can't throw out the other guys either. You paid top money for them too.
That's the problem.
Where I viewed where you were trying to where they were forcing through the middle of the field, I give Braga's back line some credit for they played the offsides. It was like 3 through balls that were called back for offsides. I got to give the defense some credit there, knowing that this is how we're going to have to play. You're going to have to press the line high and draw them offsides. I don't think they did the right thing. Seferovic tried to get behind. I think Vlad Smith was on. I think that's Luca tried to get behind twice, got him offsides. I give Braga's back line. Credit on that. What do you have? 2 shots prior to the goal that were on target.
One,
the
maybe?
rest, yeah. I mean, if you're counting the through balls that got caught offsides, I guess, yeah. I don't think the midfield was as you controlled it. Braga couldn't get that last pass needed to create something dangerous. I think there was one where Ricardo Horta kind of tried to dump it back in the middle and it got cut because you have a third defender there who's sitting in the middle of the box. Plus, you still got the midfielders coming in to play defense. So, yeah, but I don't think it was as open or as dominant for you guys as it's perceived. They had more chances, absolutely. But I think the game would have eventually developed that way. Where Braga had the issue is from the week before, they got hammered on the wings. Like if you watch the Famalicão match, Vinagre on one side, and I want to say Gil Diaz, I think. I might be wrong on who it was on the other side, torched them. So on this game, they said, no, we're not going to play that. We're going to make sure our fullbacks come back, especially with 2 defenders in the back. 2 central defenders, they pulled the fullbacks and said, "We're not gonna risk it. We're not gonna give up on the wings." Benfica came out with Grimaldo, who, if you remember the first game, it wasn't until he came into the match and started throwing balls into the box that you guys were effective. You had nothing, and then the other right back, Gilberto, he didn't do that either. You had 2 guys that can attack and cross, although it didn't happen as much. That, to me, was where the game was going to be. Braga was going to try to close up on the wings and force the game in the middle. Because on paper, I looked at it and seen Musrati and Franceju, and then with one of the strikers trying to create triangles, I thought they would have done, throughout 60 minutes or 70 minutes, would have done a better job than who do you have? Weigl, Trapt, and whoever winger you had making that same effect. So that, I thought the game played out similar to that, but good job for Benfica. They did what they were supposed to do up to 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's funny you said.
Yeah, but I don't. Sorry to cut you off, Mike. But
no, it's fine.
You know you talking about the offsides. You know, we almost got our first PK this match and taken back because of 10 centimeters.
You think it was a PK?
I don't.
Hell no.
I agree, but
that would have got called back regardless.
I think he got touched.
There's contact. He's just an idiot and doesn't know how to fall.
Yeah, but Matheus played it smart because he let back and he put his hand.
I will say what Seferovic doesn't flop, and I like him for that. No. He does not flop. I'm a big fan.
Taremi would have fucking gotten a 10 rating on the dive, seeing the goalie come out there.
His foot over the goal.
Oh my god!
95% of Portugal does that. Yeah. And I'm not a fan of it. I hate it. I think they should give you cards and suspend you a game looking back. There's that. I'll get into that at the end, but that I don't think for a second that should have been.
I would have been pissed. I would have been pissed if it was against us. 100%.
I agree.
And that again, it's up till that. At that point, that was the one call where you sat there and you're like, well, it got called back. So, yeah, I guess the call was made right because it wasn't a PK. But, I mean, we could say the same thing. A centimeter off, who the hell can really judge that?
I know.
Yeah. So that's the whole.
Those are tough.
There's got to be some. I mean, even if I said, hey, there should be a cushion, right? 3 centimeters, we'd be complaining if it was 4.
Right.
Again, that's how
Arsene Wenger, who's involved in the refereeing at the moment, or the decisions, he's proposing that for VAR calls for an offside like that, if any part of your body is onside that you can legally score with, the play should favor the attacking player. So say your shoulder's off and you're off by 3 centimeters, but your body or your feet or whatever the hell it may be is on, then they should let that play continue. That's one of the proposals that he's putting through.
Don't they do that already in one of the?
It cause more shit. That's all it's going to do.
We can't. We're the most incompetent. This is no. In all honesty,
do you think it's incompetence though? And I guess before I get your opinion on the game, in addition to what you've said, do you think it's incompetence because you look back at coincidentally Braga's game last week? That penalty on Ricardo, I think it was Andrea Horta. Is a joke.
It was Ricardo Horta. Joke, absolutely.
But do you think it's incompetence or do you think it's blatantly bullshit? Like, how do you mess that up?
It is incompetence. Did any of you guys watch the whole match?
I watched bits and pieces.
Okay, if you watch Famalicão's first goal was a handball, and they didn't even go to look at it. I don't know what they don't release the audio, right? So you have no idea if he said, "Hey, you should go look at this," and the ref just said, "You know what? I trust you, but I'm not going to do it." Right?
Yeah.
Like I trust you, but I'm not going to do it. They blew that call. This was fixing an error with an error, in my opinion, which tells me that that guy has zero integrity and he's incompetent at his job. I want to believe people still want to do their job good, but that's terrible. You can't fix an error with an error.
They need to have the audio between they need to have that audio between the referee and the VAR guy. Like that's needed.
Portugal will never do it though.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
Dave was commenting on the podcast
seriously,
last week.
imagine that conversation.
What about when it takes like 7 minutes? What could you possibly be saying? Like on top of that, you have two different rules. And when it first came out, they had like 20 cameras was the necessity for when 3 teams in this league played. When it was games not consisting of 3 specific teams, you only needed like 8.
Yeah.
So you have a different criteria already.
Yep.
Okay. So the perception says, well, it's to make sure things are right. Well, no, it could be to catch a different angle, or if you don't have the same criteria throughout, you view it different. You know, we can't operate right, and we can go on forever specifically on this, on how fucked up VAR is, but it's crazy.
We need VAR
It's
2.0. Yeah.
Seriously. Dave, what are your thoughts on the game? What are your thoughts on the red card?
I thought the game was going to develop better for Braga in the beginning. My issue when they've come out on big, what's considered big matches where you need a win, you're playing a strong team. They've started slow. Besides the last Stasa game with Port, they've started very slow. So I could see what they were trying to do: hold back their fullbacks. As a guy who's a big part of the offense, they had no choice but to keep him in to help with Tormena and the other central defender. So they lose that part of the offense. Then you have to play the ball through the middle. I thought they were going to develop and create more. Musrati, to me, is probably one of the best midfielders in Portugal. He's a freaking pleasure.
Probably the best.
He's a poor man's William Carvalho. He is
so good,
phenomenal. He's a good player. At the 40-minute mark, I think the influence changed the game drastically. Not from an attitude standpoint. I think Braga still tried to push. Whether you lost by 3 or lose by 1, you needed the 3 points to keep that cushion. So they had to keep pushing. But I think that would have to be the softest yellow. I think the inconsistency on criteria there is my issue. Where if just tapping him, did he see? I think it was Rafa. Did he know Rafa was there? I think he still tried to pull his foot back after some contact. So if they gave it a foul, I would understand that. Like, I'm not saying it's not a foul by the law but to sit there and say that's a yellow, that's what I'm going to consider a yellow card. And then 20 minutes later, I think when did Pizzi come in? Or Pizzi made like a slide tackle from behind with no intent of getting the ball. It was 100% intent to stop the player's progress. And he tackled him, I think, above somewhere in the shins from behind or the side. And I think he got a yellow. It might have even...
He was on the field for like a minute.
But that's also the level. That's a yellow card. So by that intent, you should have gave that a red based on your first one. Now, I don't agree that it should have been a red, but I have no idea what his standard is. 20 minutes later.
Before Francesio's second yellow card, we had messaged in our chat, there was 3 fouls within a 5-minute period. Borja had 2 fouls that could have been yellows, and Isgayu had a yellow foul that could have been a yellow, and he didn't give them a yellow, and then he goes and gives that yellow, a second yellow on top of that, right? Like so like you said, I agree that there was no criteria, right? There's no consistency in his decision-making, right? Like if that one's a yellow card, which for me, we messaged on the chat, I think it's a forced yellow card, right? Like, yes, it's a foul. He's looking up at the ball. I don't think he has any intention. Rafa just ends up getting in the way and he tries to pull his foot back. If it's a foul, yes. Should it have been a yellow card? Given where they were on the field? Probably not, right? But it's super forced considering he didn't give the first 3.
That was the second foul. And after he got the first, the TV spun to Francesio, and he goes, "That's my first foul." When he gave him a yellow, he said, "That's my first foul." And then knowing that, I don't think Francesco was a dumb player. He knew that there was contact there, but he looked at him like, you're going to give me another yellow card right away on that? That's crazy. So the influence on that changed the game, obviously, dramatically. You lost your box-to-box guy who I don't think is playing as well. He missed a couple passes. They tried to thread the needle a couple times, but having those three central defenders back there made a big difference on those through balls. And they didn't try to attack the wings because their fullbacks were pushed back more to play defense. So that hurt them. Braga's made to play with a 3-4-3, and it didn't. When they have to play 4 in the back, that I don't think they look as good. When the lineup comes out, they have no choice. But that's
you
the
said
reality.
You mentioned the keeping Benfica's outside backs contained to a sense, and it's funny. Kenny, you mentioned, I think it was Kenny in the chat that said Diogo Gonçalves didn't really get very involved offensively. He wasn't even able to swing any crosses in, which I thought was interesting, considering how involved he had been in a 4-back, right? And then he gets in a positioning where he's further up the pitch, and he wasn't able to get as much consistency down the line. Mm-hmm. Right. So I guess hats off to Braga on that side. Jay, thoughts on the game in terms of what we've discussed? Anything else you'd add? That red card? I'm going to bring up the ratings here as well while you talk.
I would say overall, I'm just happy that Seth had another good game. He scored another goal, continues his streak. As far as the game, it kind of was. I kind of agree with what Dave was saying. I thought Braga was starting to get more involved in the game, and then once they got that red, the result was I thought after that I was like, I don't think Braga's going to come back from this, and we're going to win. But the way that the game was going before that red card, Braga was getting more and more comfortable. I felt like going in, and then, like I said, that card just ruined them for him. And as far as Benfica, I thought it was just an okay game. We seen better, but it was good to see the three backs played outstanding. Hopefully Lucas Verissimo was okay. I didn't hear anything after the game about what's going on with him, but I know he was on the ground a couple times and he had to get subbed out.
JJ said he felt his body was JJ said he felt his body was heavy. His legs were heavy. He felt tired. They tested him for COVID after the game, and he tested negative. And he had it, I think, in November, so people are saying he could or can't. I don't know what the science says, but that was what they said after.
But, I mean, you guys already touched base on pretty much everything else. Rafa had another good game, and Seth had a great game. So I think those two kind of stood out the most for me.
Okay.
So, Mike, can I add two things there?
Yeah.
That I forgot to mention. So I actually thought Verissimo probably had, and again, this is still early, but I thought out of all the games he's played, I thought this was probably his worst showing.
Yeah.
He did, I mean, on that play when he went down for 5 minutes or whatever it was, he did awkwardly he stumbled. And it looked like at first it was like a knee injury or something because he even gave up on the play initially.
Yeah, midfield.
Then at midfield, and then once the play was over, he fell down. So at first I thought it was something with his knee, but before that, I don't think he was playing all that well. He had missed a couple of passes. I think right after that injury, he gave a hospital ball to Otamendi, which almost caused a big mess in the back there. But I could easily scored. Late came in and made a save there, luckily. But one thing, and the reason why I was saying this, that I didn't. Yeah, we looked like we were possessing the ball, and we had a chance. We had that chance early on with Grimaldo, but I don't think we were doing that much. For me, it was a sloppy game. And one thing that I really noticed in those first 30 minutes was Braga's high press, and the fact with just our three guys in the back, every time we laid the ball off to Late, who is not good with his feet, he just kept. He's so bad with his feet. He just kept just giving away the ball, just giving away possessions. In my opinion, with all they say is he will find that guy between the forwards. He'll thread a ball in the middle. He is not afraid to make a direct pass. Whereas late is just shaky, afraid, just lay the ball out either out of bounds or just giving it back up to the defense. That's where I thought we were losing a lot of possession. We were giving up plays like that. And that, merit to Braga's high line. And because we're playing 3 in the back, right? You only have so many players back there to give it off to. But for me, that's where I saw it. I constantly saw the first 30 minutes, probably late, just give away the ball at least 30 times. If I kept count, I wish I did, but it was really bad to start there. And that was my vision. That's what I saw early on in the game. But after that, once the red card happened, that's when kind of things opened up. So those were just 2 things I wanted to point out.
Don't you kind of want that, though? Don't you want a goalkeeper that's conservative, not going to lose you the game when he's playing with the ball? I mean,
but he's just too much. He has no confidence with his feet for me. And look, he does come up with big saves, and he's got 5 clean sheets under his belt right now. But I still I rather see a goalie with a little bit of confidence with his feet that he'll find like a Weigl in between the Braga players. He'll find that pass instead of giving up possession again. Just give up.
Yeah,
possession.
but I don't.
Kill the
to
game.
add to, I don't think all these saves is any much better than late.
Oh, I think he's so much better.
With his feet.
I disagree because how many times has he kicked the ball out of bounds have we seen? I get that he kicks it out right away. He doesn't even try to he doesn't even because I think during the game. I think Otamendi even he's like, yo, can't yelled at him. He's like, dude, you have plenty of time. He's like, you have plenty of time, relax. But he just boots it up where he just gets the ball out of trouble. But there was also times there where we were playing the ball in the back and we were playing around trying to get possession out, and then Otamendi had a bad touch. No, but that's what I mean. And he was yelling, he's like, get the ball out, and they even said it on the TV.
Yeah, and that's different when you're under pressure.
But what I'm trying to say is I don't think Odysseus is that much better with his feet than late overall. It's not, and if he is better, it's not that big of a gap. He's no Ederson. You can't say he's Ederson. I agree with that. I don't think the gap there is that much. I mean, if you got to complain about his feet, okay, I guess, but I think he's better overall.
I think what makes it worse for Elton is that you can tell when he gets the ball, he just looks uncomfortable.
He doesn't want it. He's like, get the shit out of here.
He just looks super uncomfortable. Odysseus looks more comfortable, although I don't think his distribution. I think his distribution is better, not drastically better, but just naturally his presence is more comfortable with the ball at his feet. Where Elton looks like he's got 2 left feet. He just looks completely lost. He doesn't know what the hell to do with it. So it's I'm just going to kick it as far away as I can, and hopefully somebody gets the ball back.
Yeah, and to be honest, in this game, I thought that we won a lot of second balls. When the ball's in the air and someone headed the ball down, we normally gain possession from there. I noticed. At least that's how I felt watching.
Yeah, we also have the 3. That's because that's the benefit of.
But that's what I get that. But that's what I felt like. They did that and they ended up working out for them because they were winning that second ball.
Fair, Dave. Oscar. Were you gonna say something else?
Yeah.
Before you say something, I was just gonna say. Milton said Oscar will say the bad tackle from PZ is because Jesus doesn't play him. I laughed a little bit when I saw that.
He's now trying to get a rest so he doesn't have to play anymore.
I did. And don't worry, he's not playing next week. That's for sure.
Biggie said you used to get Charmin soft PKs and you were playing for Lusitanos.
I used to get I used to do Teremi play, and I used to get.
All right, what were we gonna say?
I was gonna bring up the red card for the Benfica Braga guy, right? Even though I agree it's a soft foul, he showed the bottom of the cleats, and the bottom of the cleats touched the player. Even though it's not intentional, we saw Nani against Real Madrid, red card, straight red, which was the same play. He's not looking at the player. He tries to trap the ball, hits I think Morata was playing for Real Madrid, and he got a straight red on Champions League knockout phase. All right. So this Rafa just basically skimmed him, took the ball, went away. He had his foot up, the cleat showing, the cleat touched the player. I can see a yellow card. I mean, it's not, it's a soft, yes. Can I see it? 100% can see a yellow card there. I wouldn't have given that yellow card. I think to me, if it was against me, I would have been pissed. But I can see it happening. I mean, it's not like they're trying to. I don't want to accuse corruption on this play because I've seen a lot worse and in this case, red cards when players show their bottom of the cleats and hit another player.
I think out of for the Francejo red card, I think the first yellow card you guys have more of a case to argue that yellow card because it was his first foul, and usually, and he's the captain of the team, so usually you kind of the referee's all right, just don't do it again. The second one, I think it's a yellow card. There's nothing you can nothing you can do with it.
That's my thing. He's hitting him no cu, caralho. Foda-se.
He pulled his foot back though.
He tried to pull it back, but just showing the studs, I feel
yes,
but I feel the first foul, that's where you have the argument for me.
You cannot have this type of foul you're gonna have 150 cards.
Yeah.
Right.
How many? How you can't? It could just be a foul. That's okay too.
Yeah,
no,
it's true.
But I don't know if you noticed, but Rafa had his shorts pulled up, and as soon as the ref looked at the marks on his leg, he showed the yellow card. He didn't show it right away.
The ref even delayed to call the foul.
Yes, but he looked up when Rafa pulled up his pants, his shorts. There was marks there from the cleats, from the bottom of the cleat, and I think that's what sold the ref.
But let me ask you this:
That's
the
same.
I mean, I didn't see that.
And I think Dave and I were saying the same thing, right? Is it a foul? Yes. Given the lack of consistency, should have been a yellow? No. Right? There were fouls before and after that should have been yellows and weren't yellows. The fact that he gives that one a yellow and ends up being a red card, I think, just shows how inconsistent he was. But you said that he gives the card after seeing kind of what the after effect was, right?
Right.
We can't have refs doing that, right? I think it was Braga Porto, right? The Braga guy got sent off with the foul on, was it Corona? Was it Corona, I think? Or Zé Luis? Zé Luis.
Yeah, he stepped on the ankle on the follow through.
Yeah, but that's a perfect example, right? If you look at the play, I don't think it's a foul, right? But he ends up seeing what the end result is, and it's okay, well, he broke his leg, then it's got to be a red card, right? And I think that's wrong in the sense of just because somebody has a mark or someone got hurt doesn't necessarily mean that it was a foul or should have been a sending off. I just think I agree with your point, Oscar, but I think what Dave and I were saying is there was a lack of consistency, and if there were going to be yellow cards, yes, that one could have been one of them, but then there should have been more consistency prior to that yellow card, and there wasn't, and then he decides to make this one a second yellow card.
But even going forward, in the matter of, like you said, a few minutes, I think it was Weigl took down Musrati on a counter.
He did, yeah.
And he might have got a yellow as well, but the intent there is fully to stop the guy and make sure he does not continue. So how can something so small be a yellow and that same foul be a yellow? So what is a red? Is it blatant drop kicking you in the chest? There needs to be some where does intent matter or doesn't it matter? They say, I don't care. Your cleats were up. I have to give it to you. Okay. So then the intent to take down the player needs to be valued more than just, it's just like pulling a shirt. No, you can't make a judgment call there then.
But usually when somebody stops a play, a counterattack, that's automatically yellow.
Yeah,
it should. No ifs and ifs. It's an automatic yellow. But we saw it not being given most of the game. That game, we saw a lot of counterattacks being stopped.
It's a foul. They were given, and if your intent is to stop the player, you see it all the time. They pull the shirt, even if you allow for the play to continue and go back and give the yellow for the intent. I can live with that.
Yeah.
See if it develops anywhere. Usually, no. In Portugal, they just stop because they know you pulled. Milano does it all the time. I get it.
I also think the fact that it's a second yellow, if that was going to be his first yellow, I guess that's more acceptable. But when you're going to give a second yellow, that's going to change the rest of the game. So I think it's got to be it was, for me, unintentional. I think he was looking at the ball the whole time. He doesn't see him coming across, and he hits him. So for me, as a second yellow, I think it's harsh. And I think I'm pretty sure if it was Seferovic or someone else on Benfica, a few minutes later, same type of play, ball in the air, and he cleats him on the side of the leg too, and he didn't even get a yellow. And I remember, I think the bench, the Braga supplents up in the stadium were all yelling and everything, and nothing came of it. So, the consistency, it's for the ref.
There's no integrity, and it's a lack of.
That's a big problem.
I don't know. Maybe there's their influence, but They changed the
100%.
game ridiculously with that call. And if it's, I personally know the Liga doesn't care. They don't view it as a big game, whether you went to play Vitoria, whether you went to play Braga, whether you went to play Passos, then that's not a big game for them. This Liga is ran by the television company. That's why games are 9:45 at night in Portugal. All right, and you have kids that you're trying to get to involved. Hey, let's stay up and watch. No, and then on Tuesday night, 9:45, they're gonna have kickoff. It's ridiculous. They run it. They're gonna push the incentive for them, in my opinion. It doesn't favor anybody in the television side of it to have these bigger clubs not be involved in doing well.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So if there's influence in that regard, it has to be thought of. Is it full-blown corruption? I don't like to go into that debate. You can, but then you're talking emails and you're saying what's legal, what's not. I don't know. Are they influenced? Could be, but because you influenced as a ref, you should be able to stand up and say, no, this is why I thought it was a yellow. This is why I made this call, and they're not. So something's pushing them in a direction to do this and not care about it. They don't even get suspended. Like how blatant, shouldn't they have to be like, hey, listen, you're not going to ref these games anymore. I watch. Yep. You can have a terrible call, and the next time you play a big team again, you get like fucking Carlos Zistra comes back out, and that guy's terrible. Like I don't know how it happens. How many refs do they have to be? Even if not, he just gets put in the VAR.
Yep.
It's the same 6 guys. They just rotate in spots.
There's no accountability. That's the problem. But do you think, and before we go to the MVP, right, you talk about are they influenced, right? How could they not be influenced, right? We've had cases where fans have gone to the academy where the refs federation is. We've had refs businesses vandalized, graffiti, broken into, houses, death threats. Like, so when you look at the grand scheme of things, how do you not get influenced in Portugal? It's impossible.
So they have to bring those international refs, man.
You think they'll never allow them in?
You don't think so?
I think they might be doing it. I hope so.
I'm hoping for it.
Am I hoping for it? Yeah, absolutely. But it's fake threats. They're just saying clean it up somewhat. I mean, some of this shit it's ridiculous. Like,
I mean, I'm all for it. I'm tired of this BS. Like, at least then after we can't really say that probably still can bribe the refs, but
yeah, I mean that's
going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot harder for them.
Just consistency. That's all you're asking for. Is consistency.
Yeah. Dave, who was your most valuable player of the game?
I'd have to give it to. I'm a big Musrati fan, but Mateus or Musrati, just because Mateus he saved them so many times. But Musrati, he can control a game by himself, and I think they did a phenomenal job even after losing a player. You throw any Braga midfielder on with them, and he can still hold his ground regardless of who it is. And so if I had to give it to 2 players, it would be Musrati and Mateus, who just consistently. Above, he exceeds expectations every time. So one of them.
Mateus was a 7.2 on goal point, and Musrati was a 6.5, the 2 highest on Braga.
What's his nationality?
I think he's Libya. Togo? Oh, Libya, that's it.
He was actually, I don't know how, Vitória Guimarães just dropped him.
Really? He was at Guimarães?
Even last year, he was loaned to Rio Ave.
Yeah, last year he played at Rio Ave. But
he was under contract with Vitória Guimarães, and they just let him walk for nothing. They're in some. I think they just fired their sporting director too, so they have some issues over there.
He's 24.
Mike, remember when I called him Maserati?
Oscar was just about to call him Maserati, and then he stopped himself.
He played like one. Look.
I caught you, Oscar. It's okay.
Yeah,
he stopped himself in time. Kenny, who was your MVP?
My MVP was Seferovic for the game winner. Well, not the game winner, but the second goal, and then just because I feel like we haven't given him that much credit. This past couple of games we've been giving man of the match to somebody else, and Seth's kind of on the back. But I think he played well. I like the way he held that ball for that Rafa chance. He's finding his groove, so I'm giving it to him.
It's funny, we talk about Seth. He scored and assisted again, and he wasn't man of the match. Rafa was. This guy.
Yeah, that's why.
Poor
I'm
guy.
giving it to him. Yeah, last
You
few
can't
games
catch
it
a
was
break.
like that.
Oscar, who was your MVP?
I think I am going to go with Rafa. The reason, and there's reasons behind that. First of all, he broke the deadlock, so the first goal, nice run by him in the middle, cut those guys through, and then the assist for Seth, and he got the red card, which people are forgetting about.
It's true.
Well, we didn't forget about it. We just talked about it.
That alone changes the whole game. The red card and the first goal, which is the hardest goal to score in a game, was him. So for that reason, I give it to Rafa.
Paul says the ref's the MVP for the BS red card. Dave agrees.
Wow, good guy there.
He's a Sporting fan too. You sure you still say he's a good guy?
He's all right.
Sporting fan?
Wait till you meet him.
He's all right. Tank, who's your man of the match?
I would say Seth. It would be between Seth and Rafa, but I would go with Seth. I thought Seth played a pretty good game.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with Seth. But, again, I thought Otamendi is a fucking animal back there.
Yeah.
Dude, he is so good. Like, he's aggressive. He anticipates. Yes, he's aggressive and he runs the risk of getting caught out. But, I don't know, his judgment this season has been easily the best player Benfica's had all season. Easy. He had mistakes at the beginning, but he has been.
The most consistent.
And I know Weigel's been good too, but this guy has just been an absolute monster back there.
Hey, I just want to say Adel Tarab has been playing a little bit better than I expect.
Yeah.
Like I expect, because I usually expect shit from him, but he's been playing okay.
Yeah, my brother said that. Talk about Tarat. He's been playing much better. I think he's definitely looked more consistent and he looks more confident. I still think he's only got like a 60, 65-minute tank. I think he needs to expand his gas tank because he runs out of energy. Or he needs to be more...
But if he can give you 65 minutes, but the problem is we don't have anyone
the
really
problem
to
is
back him up.
JJ doesn't take him off after he's gassed. And Manny says JJ's the MVP for keeping those big money signings on the bench.
Yeah.
Sadly, but true.
At one point, we had 60 million warming up together between the three players that were warming up, which is interesting.
We got some options off the bench, though.
Mikey says, I think we replace Oscar with Chloe. All right. And then I wanted to talk quickly about the season so far. So, Dave, I'll start with you. How would you sum up Braga's season this far? I did also say that I wanted to touch on your president's comments after the game yesterday. He went to the press conference instead of Carlos Carvalhal and said basically they watched the replay from every angle. Even the first yellow card, they shouldn't have gotten a yellow card. The red card was an embarrassment. They're playing with them. This is unacceptable, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of money at stake in this game, and he understands why they made those decisions, blah, 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 right? But again, it's just like, okay. And then he said 90% of the games that this ref has reffed Braga, he's had negative impact towards them. Ironically, they've had 4 games now, counting yesterday's, and the 3 other games, Braga won like 2-0, 3-0, and 4-0. So yeah, I think he needs to go check his stats. But what are your thoughts?
First, I don't think he's necessarily wrong when he comes out and says it. And 2 years ago he did the same thing. Was it 2 or 3? He hijacked Abel Ferreira's post match and went into the Sporting thing. But that match, there was an obvious issue there. We were down 1-0. We came back, scored 2 goals. The second one, Danilo from outside the box beat Patricio off the crossbar and in. And then a few minutes later, Bruno Fernandes gets a PK and he buries it. But that same play, Ricardo Horta lifts his leg and Bruno Fernandes makes a meal out of it, but he didn't kick him. He his knee grazed the front of Bruno Fernandes. Right before that, right in front, the reason the ball fell at his feet was because you remember they had a striker, Doumbia, elbows the central defender from Braga. That ball, that's why he didn't head it. His head moved, the ball went past it, and then it fell to Bruno's foot, and he gave him the PK. So he sat there saying, how can, right in front of the same play, you missed the obvious foul where the striker held down the defender to give that PK, which was soft as well, but I can understand that he made a meal out of it. So this is nothing new. How do I view it? 50% probably to rally the fan base. It's not a bad idea. And he's dealing with significant injuries, but I don't think he's wrong. Like we know the last few times we played Benfica, take into account, we were up 1-0 a few years back. I think that was João Felix's year. They gave João Felix a penalty on an Esgaio slide tackle, which I think barely nicked him, if anything. But he made a meal out of that, and they gave him a PK. So you sit there and you're like, all right, is this coincidental, or is this consistently happen where it's a PK that changes the event of a game that shouldn't be deserved? When you look at Benfica as a whole from outside, I look at Pizzi I'm not a big fan of Pizzi for numerous reasons. So I just think he's an asshole. I mean, he's at one point, he was supposed to be the best player in Portugal, right? I mean, 2 years ago, he's the best player in Portugal, arguably. And there was a game, I think against Bill Nintz, he would have missed the ball anyway. But he literally, barely got touched by the guy, and he ran back to the ref and screamed at the ref to go looking for a penalty. This is the best player in the country. I don't know if you remember this game, but even I was listening to it on the radio, and they even had it saying he's running back to the ref to get him to draw the penalty, screaming at him. So you have that level of influence, and that you can look it up. Whatever game that was, I'm pretty sure it was Bill Nentz. So you have this on top of the players chasing down the refs. You have the influence from above. So I don't blame him for finally coming out when his team is growing. He's done a phenomenal job as a president. Phenomenal job. That's non-debatable how well Braga has done over the last 15 years, or 18 since he's been there, building an academy, developing players. He's done a phenomenal job. The media does not promote anybody but the top 3 clubs. So I think he's sick of it. He thinks he should get, and anybody else that's doing a good job, he wants to get his shine, right? He's like, I deserve more recognition than I get. And it happens to every other smaller club. It's not just that, but Benfica is a big part of it. Same with the other two, the media force behind it. So he has to spaz out every once in a while name another president that has the kind of, I don't know, stature that he does. And he did it from nothing with the team that up until when he got there, Vitória was the next biggest club in Portugal. Just statistically in cups, Vitória and Boa Vista were.
And
so no, I don't
keep a president.
yeah, that's true too. But no, in all honesty, I'm what he does, I don't think he's necessarily wrong. There is that perception from the outside that there are influences that certain players and certain teams get benefited. I don't think that's wrong. I think we see it in every level. I mean, PSG will get calls, and in Portugal, it just happens to be a little bit more obvious, and with the inconsistent refs. Yeah, and you're living off of Champions League money. You've done it for so long. The media is behind a lot of the promotion of your club. I mean, look at just 2 players who, when they played, were going to be the next best thing. And every club has 2 young kids they think are going to be the next best thing. And then those 2 guys played. The media pushed them like they're great. And then I think it was the U19 went out with those 2 guys in the midfield and had the worst showing. I think they won it at U17. And then Florentino Luis and Gedson played midfield in that tournament for the youth, and they were knocked out earlier out of the group stage. And you look and you say, well, why is that? It's the media. Are they building? They help build these guys' values to sell them. There's a machine behind it. You know what I mean? And he's trying to break that cycle. So no, I don't blame him for saying what he says. He might not be right half the time, but but overall, he's by far the best president in Portugal, and has enough of a backing and cemented his spot as a big president. So no, if he don't say it, I don't know who else will. The guy from Marítimo, he's maybe him. He's nuts. Yeah, he's
an SNL guy.
The
He's nuts
Nacional
too.
guy's even worse. They just rehired Manuel Machado, by the way. Oscar, Kenny J, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean,
No?
I respect it. I respect. I mean, I was earlier on the season when Luis Felipe wasn't coming out to speak to the fans as to what was going on with Benfica. I was on his case, for not defending the club. So I respect it, and I agree with Dave. I mean, I think for the Bragas, the Vitória Guimarães, I think they need to be, on the field during the season. They need to be like 5 times better than a Benfica. Like Benfica Porto can have off days, but I can never have an off day if they want to really challenge for that number 1 spot.
It's not a scandal if Benfica wins a game anywhere in the country. No one's saying that. I'm not saying it's not a scandal if they went and gave Braga 3 goals. Like, now you have good players, you play well. There's just other factors where you're saying that if this is an important game, the ref should stand by some of these calls. And
Yeah,
good for him for saying it. Sorry to cut you off, but it's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Oscar, you look like you're thinking over there. Do you have anything on your mind?
Oscar got something to say.
Not even on
me,
PZ?
Ryla.
Not even on PZ?
All right. First of all, I'll start with
All right.
There we go.
Triggered
I'll
him.
start with you. So, what do you? Dave, this question is for you, Dave. What do you think of Bruno Fernandes? How big of a player do you think he is?
How good of a player do I think he is?
How big of a player? When he was playing in Portugal,
In Portugal?
probably best player in Portugal with PZ. That time they competed for the
Yeah,
player.
they were probably the two best players in the country.
All right. So you said one example of PZ chasing the ref, asking for a call. I
Bruno
see it
Fernandes does it too.
all the time, but
And it happens. It happens. And I see times where I think he was playing Porto. He ran some guy down. He should have been thrown out of the game in the first half.
100%. Bruno
He
Fernandes,
ran the guy down and tackled him from behind.
yeah,
He should have got thrown out.
he still does it in Manchester, and he's still the best player Manchester probably has the last few years. So we can't blame PZ for fighting for his team to get a PK, which is what I would do if I played, what any of us would do if we were playing, tried to get a PK for our team. I understand. I don't know if he was
Oscar,
at the time.
He scores against Passos de Ferreira. He scores against Braga, and he celebrates like he's a fucking, like, you know what I mean? Like he just made it. No, you have some respect for the teams. If you want to celebrate against Braga, I guess they only played 10 games for them. But Passos, he was there for a while. Like,
you can't.
yeah, there's got to be. Yeah, you have to. Like, this is not.
Simão played for Sporting forever, right? He went to Barcelona, came back to Benfica. He scored a golaços against Sporting, and the motherfucker celebrating. Maxi Pereira played for us for how long? He scored against us with Porto, and the guy went to our fans and celebrated. The players that have that like are considered good. They I don't think Pizzi is a Passos Ferreira fan. I don't think he's just because he played doesn't mean he's a Passos Ferreira fan. But I can see him being like right now living Benfica more than he does than any other team that he played for in the past.
Yeah, I hope so. Somehow his value was like $40 million, and they wouldn't sell him. Like he's 30 something now. It's okay to say he's not as good as he was before. But
the problem is no one's coming over with $40 million to pay.
No, but
not even close.
Like
what I'm just saying is at that time he was a very influential player for Benfica, and he was a good player.
Right.
That is beneath you as the best player in the country. Chasing down a ref because the guy's cleat barely touched your cleat, and you were going to lose the ball anyway, and you kind of like double stumbled to go to a knee, and then I view stuff like that. And this is why the Liga has an issue. It's shit like that.
No, but we can't put it on one player because the league has that complaint that everybody dives and nobody gets punished. Everybody complains to refs and nobody gets punished. That's the league problem. They shouldn't allow that kind of shit. And if they punish one guy and set an example, I'm pretty sure the other guys will follow that example. So
where do you start though? You start with a guy like him, show some balls. You throw him a card.
Start with a meeting with the federation in the refs. That's where you have to start. And then going forward from this point on, anybody that dives and you go to the VAR, this person gets punished or gets sent off or doesn't play the next game. I don't know, whatever they can come up with. But they need to start somewhere with a meeting between the federation. And then let's go into the whole president from Braga complaining. Like I didn't see him come to press conference last week when the blatant PK that was a joke. I didn't see him come to a press conference and complain about. Did you see Famalicão come into the press conference and complain about Famalicão getting robbed on that PK? I didn't see it.
You didn't see Neb, of course, because they got a free handball goal.
Right. But that's. But he didn't mention that handball. He didn't mention that handball. Your president. He didn't mention that. Right. But what about Benfica when the Seferovic headed the ball and the Mateo saved it? It was a handball on the center back in Braga. You didn't see him call that. You didn't see VAR even asking for it.
Okay.
Or did we miss that play?
On isolated incidences, you can pull out one if that's what you think his complaint is just on this game or this, and you're defending your club. Good for you. In a whole, he's not wrong. You agree with majority of what he said.
Right. But
so if you're upset by the fact that he's complaining about a specific or not about a specific incident, we can sit there and nitpick all day. Is what he's saying correct? That this is a systematic issue, and it's a developing issue that has gotten worse since every team is only dependent on Champions League money.
Right. So, but what pissed me off, when I listened to his press conference, is he said that exact example. There's a lot of millions on the line. So basically, what he's saying is that, and I think he brought it back to this play, to the red card. Right. He's like, Benfica needs Braga not to get in the middle or in the way of the millions that they have for the Champions League. So the refs are going to afundar o Braga to get Benfica where they need to be to get the millions for the Champions League, right? So that's the biggest. Like, I'm like, why did he use this game to come and take the coach away to do the press conference just because he wanted to mention the Champions League money or the millions? It to me is just like, I think he's been games where he blatantly got robbed and he's kept quiet. Benfica's been games this season that's been robbed, and I wanted our president to come out and talk, and he didn't. Right, so I stand behind what your guys is doing, but he chose this game because of this red card.
So when is he supposed to do that?
He's trying to fight for that money too. He's trying to get that money as well.
We lost an offside
He has
goal
to fight for it
by 1.2 meters, not a centimeter. 1.2 meters. They called a goal back and said it was offsides against Moreirense. We won 4-0 anyway. But that level of incompetence is what he's talking about. 1.2 meters. It's like 4.5 feet. Like there's an issue there. Like, when does he? If he went out on Moreirense, it probably wouldn't even been on TV.
Right. That was my point.
So
that's my point.
The reality of the situation: how many pre-game matches do you see on Sport TV? You have to find the next big game between a relegation battle is sitting there on Sport TV 5, if you can even find the friggin' thing, to play a repeat of Porto Sporting before their game of 1995. Like, there's only certain times you're going to be allowed to do this, and people are going to see it. And he did it now on the big team. Nobody gives two shits what he thinks about when he plays Farense.
To me, that's the big thing is smaller teams use the big teams like Benfica because Sporting doesn't push many fans. And Porto, they know what Porto is. So if somebody talks over Porto, say something bad about Porto, you have Sergio Conceição, Pinto Costa, and their families coming out to press conferences saying, talking about their mothers and sons.
He's a whole nother level of.
So basically, like, you use Benfica's platform to get your point across, which I see the point behind it, but makes Benfica look like Benfica's the cheaters, or Benfica's the team, the corrupt team. It makes, because everybody comes from the smaller teams comes out during Benfica's games because of the views.
But see, he got into an argument with Pinto Costa not too long ago when Salvador said they shouldn't allow loans in the first division domestically. And he says, well, you should give back my player because you got one of my guys on loan. He responded with shit like, well, your player don't even want to go back anyway, so what the heck's the point? Like, but that doesn't get noticed because it's not the platform to do it. If you got to say something, it's right after it happens, right? You're not going to wait 3 weeks to say what he thinks or at the end of the year interview. That's his reality. That's how he views it. I don't think anybody will deny the fact that there is a grip hold by three teams not to give up television rights. The reason they got 10-year deals was because they knew if this is not going to break anytime soon. So the league has said now that they have 7 years from now is going to be a centralized television deal.
Yep.
I have no idea how they're going to try to divide that money, but they gave them 7 years to fix the problem. Well, Salvador tried to do this years ago when he created that G15 and tried to get the other 15 presidents to hold out when their TV deals, I think it was like 4 clubs came up, and he tried to get them to hold out. If at some point Sport TV is going to lose money when they pay for away matches, and you're not going to be able to televise them because 4 teams are holding out. But nobody cared then. He was still going on whatever media outlet would take him to say it, but nobody cares. Oscar, that's the platform to do it on because you played Benfica. 50% of the country is Benfiquistas, lawyers, judges. I'm not saying that's the thing, but like, was it last year? There was a parliament meeting and the guy says, "Hey, let's hurry up. Benfica's on." Like it was fucking crazy. Like it's the platform to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the reality of
No,
it.
I see the point.
I'd be frustrated too if they use you as a stepping stone to get what you want, but he's not wrong on it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He's
That's
got to
the
do what he's
reality.
got to do for his club. Yeah,
Exactly.
3 teams have lived over their means, and nobody else can. Yeah, I get it, because no matter what, if a little team's good, the big teams go and pick those players apart. It's going to happen probably to Passos de Ferreira this coming year. It happens every year to Rio Ave. That's just the nature of the beast. But there are clubs that are pushing, and if they get a shot to go, they should go. You shouldn't be influenced by it because it's just been like, well, you're not going to do anything when you're there because you're going to lose your players anyway, or it's just the way it is here. 3 teams and the rest deal with Europa. It's just, it can't continue. That's just unrealistic.
Dave, come on, let's be honest. You know Braga is the 3rd biggest team in Portugal, right?
They're playing good. They're playing good. They're going to continue to grow. Their academy is going to be phenomenal. I think they're going to be rated probably the 2nd best facilities wise, coaching staff wise, and youth development. They already shooting out players over the last few years that have done phenomenal. They've made a ton of money on Pedro Neto, Trincão. Everybody loves Pot right now, and Pot came through Braga too before he was let go. They didn't have the means to hold some of these guys. Hope that this continues and they're going to grow, and that's why he knows what's going on here. Braga financially is doing better for what, again, they don't make the money the other teams do, but they seem to have a system that financially they're self-sustaining. The big guys cannot, and that is evident. Sporting have their issues. Sport sold half their youth, it seems like, to cover up their financial issues. And they know what happens. These clubs need the Champions League money. So if he's going to say, if he can prove it's corruption, go. Say it all you want. I think we all see that there is influence by it. That's not a lie.
I think that's
I'm a
clear.
Liga NOS fan. I enjoy Portuguese football. I just, you got to call a spade a spade. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
We're going to hide behind incompetent refs all the time. At some point, we have to ask why.
It's been incompetent and it's been corrupt since I can remember. I'm 34, and I can't remember the league not being corrupt in some way, shape, or form. So
Benfica got good players. They don't need extra help on top of that. You have phenomenal players. You play well. You probably could have deserved to win that game 1-0. It was 11-on-11. It's not. You didn't need all that shit. I mean, they gave a foul. Diego Gonzalez got a foul call. He stubbed his toe. You don't remember that? Galeno went on a counter and they called it back. He stubbed his friggin' toe, Oscar. I mean, like that. What are we doing?
Dude, on that game against Braga, I saw fouls going both ways that I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But both ways.
Crazy.
I didn't, other than me, like, and I admit, I can see the yellow card being given, like, against the red card that happened against Rafa, but I can be pissed about if it happened against my team. All right, I could be pissed about it because it was unintentional or not, but I can see it being given. So I can't sit here and say Benfica got helped, because if this whole thing happened reversed, if it was Benfica that got the red card, I wouldn't say Benfica got robbed. I wouldn't. And believe me, I've said Benfica got robbed 50 times this season.
No VAR. Sorry to cut you off by my last comment on this. No VAR. Then you see Seferovic's PK probably stands. You think they're turning that back without the VAR? No, that thing's going to hold up in that game. No. You know it. I think it's a soft. What do you hit it with?
But they didn't call the penalty. They called it offsides.
They called it offsides, but he called it a penalty. It went to VAR, and VAR was like,
Correct,
"Oh
yeah.
shit, this is
Well,
offsides."
VAR didn't say it wasn't a penalty. VAR said it was offsides.
Right. So my opinion is that PK would have stood. They weren't going to review it and take that out. My opinion. Then
I agree.
you get a soft. Yeah, you say same thing, but they made up an error they gave the error to fix a problem.
Yeah.
I don't see them saying, "Oh shit, let's just call a penalty the other way to make up for that." That wouldn't have happened this game. In that game, there was a handball goal, and they called that bullshit foul PK on Ricardo Horta, which is not a PK. Unless there was some angle that nobody saw, which is bullshit. That's not a PK. They with an error, they tried to fix another error. That's incompetence and lack of integrity. Okay, so I can't keep saying that's Braga benefited on that. When I see a club who gets 4.5 feet, they scored a goal and it got called back. Oh, that's offsides. It's crazy. So I can see what happened. My opinion, the president's right on it. There's an influence there. So,
Kenny, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going back to that red card. I mean, it really is in the eye of the beholder how you look at that, right? If it's your team, you're gonna defend it. But how often do you see 2 yellows for a red in the first half of a game? Like I can see a direct red, right? Something serious. You get a direct red first half, fine. But like 2 yellows for a red in the first half of the game just changes the game completely. I agree that there's clearly favoritism for the top 3. And for the Bragas, the Vitória Guimarães, they have to play, like I said earlier, like 10 times better than the top 3 in order to really challenge for the league title. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way our league is.
Dave, before we jump off,
I do have a question for Dave, because I'm a big we got Everton this year, right? And I look over at Braga, and I kind of am a fan of Galeno. I don't know how you feel about him, but I wish we had Galeno over Everton on our field. I feel like he's a better player in open space. How do you feel about Galeno?
I think he is not used right. He has no choice but to play like a wingback position for Braga. And over the last 6 weeks, that guy I think he's just overused and tired. He hasn't put a shot on target. Everything he kicks is fucking looks like a field goal. Like it is, and he's overused. He's not meant to play defense. We lost that Taça de Liga match 1-0 to Sporting where he got burnt because he's not a defender.
Yep.
That's just you're playing him out of position. He's doing well for what's expected of him and on a team who lost significant players. When you lost Moro, you had nobody to replace. You had to keep Galeno on to play back more. On the other side, you lost Yori Medeiros, so then you could no longer have him sub in and give Galeno rest. Galeno's on an island by himself all day. I wish he had better ball control. I think that's the reason he's not in Porto anymore. He needs a lot of space to operate.
Yeah.
But he can influence a game. I mean, if Otamendi doesn't make that smart foul, he's off to the races.
He's off.
And there's a lot of plays like that he can change a game in one play. So if he could find a way to not sail the ball, 26 feet over, like in the beginning of the year, he was well rested. He was playing good. Now he's tired. I don't think he can keep up without having a couple of weeks off. Maybe the break will do good. We'll see where the break goes.
We talked. I actually have a question for you, Dave. Where's the maestro, almighty Nico Gaetan? Where the hell is he, man?
Nico, I think he's already on his 4th preseason right now because of injuries. But you know something? He's a good player for 20 minutes. I think that game would I have liked to see him last match? Probably, but you're not going to throw him in. I wonder how many subs Carvalhal only used 2 or 3 subs, I think.
2.
Yeah, but Nico's been playing. He comes in. I'm a fan of his. I do like him. I think he brought experience. I thought they got him specifically for games that they normally drop points in. Like this year when they lost to B-Sad, like that. That's the type of game where you're like, all right, you needed an experienced player to help control. You guys got nothing going. Bring him in. But he's been hurt. Like he spent 8 weeks the first time, and then he played for 2 games and then got hurt again for 3 weeks. He's a 1-year deal, and it would have worked out if it was what I see right now. had it been throughout the season, not so many injuries, a good 20-minute stretch where he still got it. I still see him against Famalicão. He spun around a few guys and still made him look foolish for an old man, but it would have been nice to see him healthy throughout the year. That's a hard 32, right?
33 maybe?
That's a hard 32.
He's
He aged
30,
quick.
He turned 33 in February.
But dude, Braga lost. I think every year we average like two players to season-ending injuries over the last 5 years. Like that, it's tough to recover like that. You know, you guys lost Andre Almeida. We've had 2 of those a year for the last 3 to 4 years. You know, we can't replace it. We actually the amount of reports that had Verissimo coming to Braga in the summer was unreal. Like he was linked to Braga, and the only reason the deal fell was the salary requirement. It wasn't the team. The teams agreed to a price. Santos agreed to sell him, and it came down to the salary and wages. They couldn't pay it.
So, Dave, I got another one for you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
No, go ahead. Kenny. No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna. So you lost Paulinho in the middle of the season, right? Who do you think your next 1 or 2 guys on the way out at the end of the season? I mean, there's
one automatic.
Maserati.
Maserati, yeah.
He's gonna get a Maserati.
He could. That's going to be interesting. I don't think. And this is why I do like Salvador. You're not going to get him cheap. I think those days are gone. And he messed up when he gave. The thing with Braga is they had to have sold a significant percentage in these players to create these funds they needed for their academy. Like when you look at Ricardo Horta, I think Braga only owned like 25% of them. Like they have sold off percentages to create these funds. And does it benefit them to sell them now? Probably not. Right. But now, and they sold the guy Cheka who plays for Lille. He was with Braga. He played like half a season, and then they had to sell him off for $3.5 million, I believe. Like you got a player now, and you got him for 4 years on the contract. I think they could hold him for 1 more year. I would like to, but I can see him going. But whoever he goes to is going to have to pay. Salvador's not going to let him go for nothing anymore. Those days, I think, are gone. If you're going to sell to Benfica, Sporting, or Port, they got to pay up. I mean, Sporting gave it in my opinion, an arm and a leg for Paulinho. I couldn't hate the deal. A lot of Braga fans hated it, but how can you hate the fact that he's paying? You're going to get 16, 17 million, and they're paying the salary of Borja. You're going to get him. I think salary's 3-4. It comes out to like 21.
Yeah.
Sperado.
And Paulinho's not young.
No, he's 30. He's 29.
Yeah.
His best years were in Braga. I like him, but his best years were in Braga. Who else goes? I think it would have been David Carmo had he not broke his leg. I think they turned down, again, Liverpool. It's what's ever reported. Yeah, it was like 27. Oh. Yeah. So they turned down 27 million for him. And
Benfica youth right there. Came from Benfica's youth.
They let him go, right?
Yeah. Al-Musarati's release clause is 30 million.
He'll go to Benfica, Porto, Sporting for 10.
I don't think he'll go. You're going to give 10. You're going to throw in players. That's non-negotiable. Yeah. You're going to have to throw in.
I'll give you like half of my team.
We'll give you Peasy. We'll give you
the salary your team.
We'll give you Peasy back.
Yeah, I don't. That's the one I would fly over to drive him right back down to Lisbon. I think you'd have to give up somebody like that. How old is Diogo Gonzalez? 22?
24, maybe.
That's a player I can see having you give like 13,
you don't like 14. Gilberto, dude? He's Brazilian.
They got a lot of Brazilian players. But no, but then again, you have them for 30. You're gonna have to pay 20. Somebody's gonna have to pay 20.
I can see them giving 20. I don't see a Portuguese team paying 30 million.
No, it's the value of 20 is gonna have to be there. The value, however it works out, you want to throw 3 players in. I mean, the Rafa deal worked out good. We made 20, maybe more. What do we get? 16 for Rafa, and then we sold Rui Font for another 8 to Fulham. So I mean, we only got 4. I think Benfica actually got 4 million of that. So we made 20 million on Rafa.
Hey, I have a question for you guys. Do you think Benfica overpaid for Rafa? Thinking about all the years that's passed now.
I mean, when you got him, you had a hope he could finish better.
I'm just wondering. I thought for the money that we got him, I hope he would have finished him as well.
No, Rafa's issue was he had Salvio in Benfica. That was his only issue. You take Salvio out of the equation, and Rafa started shining. Like Salvio there is not.
I think Salvio and Rafa. I think Salvio. That's when he was like injured.
Yeah, and then Rafa started playing, and that's why Salvio left because Rafa took his spot. But
as much as I like Rafa, I still think he underperforms overall for the type of player he could be. I think he has way more potential than he. I feel like he gives up on a lot of games. He doesn't give his full 100 every game in and out. And I thought he was going to be a much better player. Like I thought he would use Benfica to elevate to like, you know, maybe a Spanish league or maybe even the Premier League, something like that. But I don't think he's ever going to get there.
That has to be because he doesn't finish well though. His speed he doesn't. His speed. I watched a Benfica Porto game where I want to say it was Rui Vitória. I can't say who the Benfica coach was, but they pulled him out, and I thought Porto was the happiest team of the day right there when they took him out, and Porto dominated after that. It made no sense. He was the only player giving Porto any problems. Run it with his speed and running right down the middle of the pitch. They were committing fouls, and then he took them out, and I think Porto won the match after that. But the one question I do have for you guys is, why does it seem like this core group of players shut down and get a coach fired for Benfica over the last few years?
Dude, I want to give this kid. I want to give this.
That's my question. Again, on the outside looking in, like you guys seem to have mental cases beyond.
Can you name those players for us, loud and clear?
I can't. I'm asking you guys. You know, I don't want to miss.
I can answer.
I don't want to miss, but it seems like you guys run coaches out of town. Oh, sorry.
There's 3 players.
Certain players seem
3 players
to give up.
When we look from the outside, we say it seems like it's these players, right? Like, does anybody from the inside come out and say it's these players that running out a coach? Because I know you're saying Rafa, Pizzi, and Andre Almeida, right? Am I right?
No, I'm asking you. There has to be an issue where everybody gets fired because
and the ringleader is
because saying no, your ears are in the locker room. You know exactly what's happening in the like. Let me just put this clear so everybody understands. The 3 players that keep saying they were running out coaches out of the players that have been carrying Benfica when Benfica's been struggling. The players actually outshining Benfica when Benfica's out. Maybe there's something in the locker room, but people keep saying it's Pizzi, Andre Almeida, and Rafa. The core, those Portuguese core players, either run out coaches or don't run out coaches if they want to play. But the thing is, even when the coaches were doing bad or Benfica was losing, those 3 players only one scoring. Only one. Everybody else.
I would probably say one of them scores. I would say one of them scores.
Pizzi scored.
I would say Pizzi is the one that scores. Rafa doesn't score. He helps. But he always fucks up on the last pass.
Rafa had his best season when Rui Vitória got fired. Go check the numbers because I don't think you like looking at numbers.
No, that's fine.
How long was he there with Vitória? Because he was hurt right when he got there, right? I think he actually left Braga right after the Supertaça match.
No.
He muffed a friggin' muffed a shot that probably should have tied it, but that's my last thing at Rafa.
And then Bruno Lage Rafa had another one of his best seasons when Bruno Lage got fired. That same year that Bruno Lage got fired. So we keep saying Rafa, Pizzi, but why are they keep playing and scoring goals when the coaches are they saying, okay, guys, now you guys can't play and score? Only us 3 can play good and score.
I hear you. It's how it's viewed from the outside, though.
Yeah, but
that's how it's perceived in my opinion.
It seem like it's those 3 players, other than media, which media likes to create drama, right? Media likes to create drama, and you said it earlier. It's the Portuguese media likes to put drama into like that's how they sell journals. That's a record that sells.
Benfica sells.
Yeah. So the drama about what information do people have from inside saying those 3 players are the ones running out the coaches?
I don't know. I'm asking you why it seems that way.
No,
That's why I'm
no.
talking to you. I couldn't name names. I don't follow your club enough, Oscar.
You know as much as we do. You read the paper, that's what Tank knows. That's what Mikey and Kenny know is where their papers.
So what went wrong with Bruno Lage? Why was it so bad?
Why? Because we were unexperienced. All right, we were basically what I've been saying about Sporting this year is what happened to Benfica. They had an unbelievable first half of the season, lost 1 game to Porto, right? And then all of a sudden they lost 1 more game in the second half of the season, and they went to shambles. They legit, everything was being lost. The confidence was gone. It's because we had a young team. A young team with
and what was the rumor?
Who left with the eye problem, though? You got to play a.
Yeah, but okay, I get it, Oscar. But I get that we're not there. But the rumor on the paper was like what they were said was Weigl coming into the team caused a little rift between those 3,
right?
And then what else?
And that's
what we know because that's what we hear.
I think
maybe that's why Dave's asking the question. We don't know.
Yeah, but what makes? But what you asked right after?
Right,
but you could tell something was wrong with the team. Look how they played.
The team, Tank. Can you just? You just asked Dave. Can you name the 3
Let's reel
players?
this in. Let's reel this in.
So how do you know it's them 3? How do you know, Tank?
Because we all know.
You assume. You got to assume.
You read the record up it.
Dude,
Maybe
honestly,
maybe it was a lie. Maybe it was a lie.
Oscar, listen. If you would have to guess which 3 would you name?
Well, I would guess Gabriel because he's the one lost his spot to Weigl.
Yeah. So
all right. So my last thought on it. I'll close. Who was the player who left with the eye injury? That after that it seemed like
Gabriel.
Prior to him, who was the midfield that won him the league?
It was Gabriel and Samaris.
And Samaris.
So
now either you guys have the most like unstable psychological like mental cases where they get thrown 100%. To the bench. They get thrown to the bench and they cry and they win.
Right.
So it maybe it's not those 3 Portuguese players. Maybe it could be anybody. I'm just asking you. Why does it seem like your team? You can name any 3 players you want. I don't give a shit.
No, but that's what Frank was referring.
Why is it that your team seems to give up on a coach? Like that's always what's said. Is it the coach could give up on the team too? If every time I go to Europe, I have to play kids just to raise the value. I could see that, and then it's just released. Oh, we're going to put in the paper that it's the players because it's really the president who's fucking the coach.
When Weigl came into the team, right, and Tarap was already there, but Tarap wasn't playing much. The players that were there, that won us the league, was in the midfield. That got affected by these guys coming in was Samaris and Gabriel. Gabriel got hurt. He lost his spot. Samaris, I don't know what happened. I think the coach just stopped believing in Samaris, and they started putting, or maybe because Weigl cost that kind of money, and he had to play, all right? So I think those 2 players are the ones who got affected the most. The other 3 that people keep saying, the core that fires these coaches, they kept playing and they kept scoring goals. Like the season kept going the exact normal. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about PC's numbers after we started having issues, and they were just as good as before.
No, there was 11 games. He scored 4 goals. Before that, he had a lot better numbers if you count.
Yeah,
if he scored 30 something goals and had 11 assists, but he only scored 4 and had like 6 assists. Then most of his goals and assists came before in those 20 games compared to the 11.
All right.
That's numbers wise.
Dave, you see what he did? He just took the pin off.
Oscar, you want to talk? Hey, Oscar, I'll just say this. You want to talk stats?
Quick.
Peasy, today, 23 games in the league, 3 goals, 1 assist. That's stats. Stats are stats, like you said.
Yeah, stats.
Just letting you know, stats, 23 games, 3 goals. That's it. I'm the best player on our team.
Since you know stats, tell me how many.
Just letting you know, I'm done.
We're moving on to this.
I'll ask another 3, not you, Tank. But can we name how many minutes he's played in these games? Oh, I go shit. You can't because he's played shit. He's played shit minutes. And
23 games, 3 goals.
Oh, Jesus.
We're moving on from this. Damn you, Dave. I thought we were past the PZ.
All right, yeah. I'm with you. So, what do you anticipate for the rest of your season then?
I was just gonna say that. So, give me 30 seconds of what you guys think. I'll start with Jay. What do you think is gonna, now that we're back in 3rd place, team looks to be playing better? What do you expect?
I'm taking it game by day. I'm not looking for thinking ahead. I'm just taking the next game, how they play there, because I'm still not fully convinced that Benfica is back to like a running machine. So I'm taking it game by game because we've seen them play a couple good games and then fall off of the face of the earth again. But like I said, just game by game. Hopefully keep third, at least get to third place.
Wait, what was the question again?
30 seconds. Tell me where you think Benfica is going to finish.
Well, I think first place, baby. Just kidding. No, I think they're gonna get into Champions League. I think third place is where I have them finishing.
Third and above.
Kenny?
I'm gonna have them finishing second. I think they're gonna keep on this run. The only thing really that matters though to me is at this point, unfortunately, is the Taça de Portugal has to be.
We have to win that.
Come home. We have to win.
Dave will be back. Dave will be back for that game.
That has to happen, and I think Jesus' I think his job's on the line for that. That's got to happen for him to stay.
Oh man,
at least
he
for
ain't
in my
going
opinion.
anywhere.
Because he's expensive.
He ain't going
Because he's
anywhere.
expensive. But if he doesn't win anything this season, including the toss, if he goes nothing, wins nothing, and like say he ends in third place, like I don't care. Fucking bite the bullet.
Nothing would make me happier than seeing that. That would fucking make my day. That would make my day.
Oscar would be pumped too. He is Jesus.
No, I think he could go today.
He could go yesterday if it was up to Oscar. Dave, where do you think Braga finishes?
Preseason I had them fighting for third, and I still think they can go to the end. They are going into a tough stretch. I think Benfica got a tougher stretch going down the line, my opinion. I don't know where the home and away is. We have a few tough matches still. We have Sporting. We still have to go to Marítimo. That's always tough for us. And Portimão, last game of the year, are a team that was going to be fighting for relegation. So this is about where I saw them. If they can squeeze in, it's not going to be a shocker if they end up fourth. That's where I thought they are. Passos Ferreira, they are a buzzsaw, dude. They are the real deal. They are here for blood. I could see if they push it to the end. So I'm hoping for third. Go from there. I hope. See what happens.
Hey, are you guys done? Are you guys done playing Porto this year? You guys don't play them anymore, right?
They only play Sporting now.
So they only got Sporting left, so that's pretty nice. That's good for them.
Yeah.
I think Porto keeps playing like shit.
Mike,
threw us a beating. So
Mike, if I'm not mistaken, we play Porto and Sporting towards the end, right?
I'll tell you the games quickly before I tell you where I think they're going to finish. Ferenc Braga, Braga Belenenses, Rio Ave Braga, Braga Boa Vista, Braga Sporting, Marítimo Braga, Braga Passos Ferreira, Gil Vicente Braga, Braga Moreirense, Portimonense Braga, and then Braga Benfica for the Cup. Benfica plays Benfica Marítimo, Passos Ferreira Benfica, Benfica Gil Vicente, Portimonense Benfica, Benfica Santa Clara, Tondela Benfica, Benfica Porto, Nacional Benfica, Benfica Sporting, Vitória de Guimarães Benfica, and then Braga Benfica in the Cup.
Yeah, we see them.
Benfica's home, but Benfica's home. Not that
you got some tough matches, especially if you're fighting teams that are in relegation. They'll take a tie.
Yeah, that's true,
dude. Watch the relegation battle right now. It's phenomenal. Like
it's tight too. A lot
literally
of small points.
5 points can throw you from like last to 13th or something.
Boavista isn't last, right? That's fucking crazy.
I think so. I think they just lost.
Between Boavista, who's last with 21 points.
I think ninth place was like 26.
Well, Marítimo's, I guess, for goal differentials in last. You might not have to take a trip to Madeira next year if this shit continues, dude. Madeira
so
might
21 points in the relegation zone, and ninth place has 27 points. So a 6-point gap between mid-table and
that's going to be that's probably going to be more entertaining than the actual race.
That's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, and between mid-table and the league leader is like 25 points. So it's a huge gap. All right. Well, there's going to be a break for the international break. So we got no footy for about 15 days. So we'll take a break next week. We'll be back after.
What was your take? You didn't even get to your take how Benfica would finish.
I think Benfica is going to finish second. I don't think Benfica loses a game in the second round. They may tie here or there, but I think the team's growing. I think that we've said it before in previous podcasts. I think one game a week now, I think, gives them the opportunity to train, to work the routine, something that they didn't have early on. I think Sporting clearly benefited from it, right? And the other teams had been, look at all the other teams but Sporting, super inconsistent. They were playing every 3 days, travel, this, that, and the other thing. And Sporting had that in their favor. And credit to them, right? Like, they had it in their favor, they used it well, and they've been consistent. You can't take it away from them, right? You can only play the cards that are dealt, right? And they got out of Europe and they played the cards that were dealt to them, and they played once a week, and that's just the way it rolls. So I think Benfica's got a 3-point gap between them and Porto. We still play Porto. Porto's still in the Champions League. It's going to be some tired legs towards the end of the season. I still don't think that they're very consistent. I still think they have some gaps there. I still think they falter. I think that Benfica ends up taking second place, and we win the Taça Portugal against Braga, another 2-0.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Optimism, huh? That's something this podcast hasn't had in a while, huh? Holy shit! What day is it?
I said, I'm taking it day by day. I'm week by week. But those are must wins for us. We have to win.
Go to the voice of reason, Oscar. You see that?
No, Mike,
You're the
Mike
voice
also,
of reason. You're going to level this
Mike
out.
also,
There's a lot of
Mike
optimism out there.
Mike
I don't like it.
Mike also had Benfica winning the Europa League.
No, I had them going to the final. Final.
Or something like that. And then, you know what happened.
They got knocked out to the soon-to-be champions of the Europa League.
Sure. Good one. Well, before we log off, I have one thing to say. Just one quick thing. Who's our best midfielder this year?
Oh, my God. Here we go again.
Yeah, I knew he was looking at
this question is for Tank.
That's an easy answer.
Weigl.
All right. He has 0 goals, 0 assists.
But he's not a goal scorer, Lembo.
No.
I don't know shit. Midfield.
No, the reason, Oscar, that makes no sense. I brought up stats because you earlier in the podcast. Earlier in the podcast, you said stats are stats.
Right.
So I decided to give you a stat that's this year, not last year, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. I'm giving you a stat from this season, and that stat is 23 league appearances, 3 goals, 1 assist.
And Weigl has 19
And he started 58% of the game, and he's played in 60% of the minutes.
Good.
And he's been in.
I give you props on that one.
I'm going to mute you guys like the debate.
Wait. Now one more. And then who has replaced Pizzi in the midfield? Adel Tarab has been playing really well, right? How many goals does he have in assists? 0.
Pizzi also plays behind the striker as a right wing, as a left wing. He's played plenty of those positions, plenty of times.
Stats are stats, my friend.
I am telling you stats. I'm telling you the stats, the real stats from this season.
Yeah,
not from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
This season, he's our second best goal scorer.
You're gonna need like a one-on-one Pizzi debate, like just the pure pod for that.
Jesus. All right, we're moving on from this.
Trigger, huh? That's the trigger?
It is. You say the word Pizzi and that's it. It's just like a grenade.
Pizzi's so overrated. It's not even funny.
Scumbag.
And walk away.
Overrated. Kid's such a fucking overrated player.
Dave keeps triggering Oscar, dude. We gotta get off this. Thanks to everyone that was in the chat. Dave, thanks for joining us. I know that you're a follower of the podcast and you've joined in the chat.
No, you guys do a good job, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back. We play Braga in the Cup, so hopefully we can have you back either before or after or both, whenever you're available. Biggie says, "Tell him, Tank. Stats are facts."
We need Biggie.
I got Biggie on my side. That's all I need. That's all I need. I got Biggie.
If you haven't checked out the interview we had today with Chloe Lacasse from the women's professional team, check that out on YouTube. It's on Facebook as well. We had a good conversation with her in English. I also had a chat with Guilherme Cabral on Saturday. Good conversation in Portuguese about kind of him and his videos and how it came about, etc. So check those out on our Facebook. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Like us on Facebook. We may have broke the 9,000 followers during the podcast.
Okay.
So climbing.
10K coming up next.
Oscar's logging in to make comments. It's so stupid.
Hey guys, now it's cool. We get to have a little break and root for the same country. So hopefully we have some good wins coming up for Portugal.
We're talking about who's for Azerbaijan.
Hopefully we all win those every single game. Don't we play 3 games?
Yeah,
3
or 2. I don't know, but boys, it's been good. Dave, again, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Dave, good stuff, man.
And we will catch you guys in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, Dave. Have a good one, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Go, guys.
Bye, guys.
Take it easy.